Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel and to the first event guide of the 2023-2024 runDisney race season. If you're new here, my name is Kristen, your unofficial Disney guru who loves nothing more than taking deep dives into event guides and bringing you the information you want and need the most. Full disclosure, there will inevitably be a bad joke thrown around in here, so you can't say that I didn't warn you. Now, before we take the leap into the guide, allow me to remind and encourage you on just a few things. Make sure that you're using the timestamps in the description bar or on the timeline to jump to your specific areas of interest. There is a lot of new information this season. I mean, like a heap of new information. Take time to read the guide for yourselves, bookmark it for quick reference on your phone, and be sure to ask any and all questions in the comments section below. If you're new to runDisney and feeling moderately or more overwhelmed, it's okay. I'm here to help. So with that, let's buckle up buttercups and dive on in. Cheers to the first race of the 23-24 runDisney race season, Disney's Wine and Dine Half Marathon Weekend. All right, let's get started with the main page of the digital event guide. Along the top of this page are three options for additional pages: the welcome, the weekend events, and the digital expo. Let's start with the welcome. We have a new face to welcome to the runDisney family this season, new Vice President of ESPN Wide World of Sports, runDisney and Disney Water Parks, Adam Ball. As many of you know, our fearless former leader, Farron Kelly, moved to a new position as Vice President in Customer Experience, which made way for Mr. Ball to take the reins. Mr. Ball comes to the helm with more than 17 years of experience in the Walt Disney Company, and his background is heavy in finance. Hopefully we'll be able to meet Mr. Ball in person at a race event soon. Next page option we're going to go through is the Digital Expo. The events are substantial and we'll target those very in-depth in just a few moments. Clicking into this page takes you to a digital marketplace of some of the vendors located in the Expo halls. You can check out Expo specials from Citizen, Enterprise, Jeff Galloway, Flip Belt, Fluffy Fizzy, Sparkle Athletics, and many, many more. You'll also find more information about this year's celebrated charity, Second Harvest Food Bank of Central Florida. The time has come, your guru says, to talk of many things, of expos and 5Ks and challenges and parties, of cabbages and kings. Did you get that reference? Did you get it? Did you get it? Be honest. It's from Alice in Wonderland. The Wine and Dine Half Marathon Weekend consists of 3 runs, 5K, 10K, and half marathon, a 2-course challenge, which is the 10K and the half marathon, and the Health and Fitness Expo. Yes, I classify the Expo as an event because y'all know a good stretch, some pre-workout, some comfy shoes, and some patience is needed for a great experience at the Expo. Let me preface all of this by reminding and encouraging you to make sure that you spend some time looking through the maps and the schedules. Here's a pro tip. There will be an info board in the lobby or by the bus bays of your Walt Disney World Resort. Snap a pic of this info board and save it to your favorites in your photo album for quick reference through the weekend. Okay, team, let's do this. Clicking into the weekend events brings you to a treasure trove of information. And we will start with the Health and Fitness Expo. The Health and Fitness Expo is a 3-day event in and of itself and features vendor exhibits, specialty food, and my favorite thing, shopping. This is also where you will pick up your race bibs because everyone all together now, there is no day of race bib pickup. The Health and Fitness Expo takes place at the ESPN Wide World of Sports and is spread out throughout that campus. If you're staying on property, there will be bus transportation to and from the Expo from your resort. Buses from the resorts begin running approximately 30 minutes prior to the Expo opening and will go 30 minutes after the Expo closes. You are more than welcome to drive a personal vehicle to the Expo if you feel the need to, but please note on day 1 of the Expo, Platinum and Gold Club runDisney members will gain early access to the official runDisney merchandise, but this comes with the predicament of how to get there. Early shopping times are prior to buses running, so you've literally just have 2 options. Well, 3. A personal vehicle, Uber/Lyft/minivan, or teleportation. I'm picking teleportation. It's new, it's great. You're gonna love it. The Expo begins on Thursday, November 2nd, 2023, and is open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Friday, November 3rd, and from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday, November the 4th. I cannot stress enough to you that you have to go to the Expo prior to your race day to pick up your bibs. If you're running the 5K, your bib has to be picked up on Thursday. Has to. It has to. Now, because I feel like y'all have forced my hand and I have to address this in a very public space, there has historically been emergency bib pickup the morning of the races. This is not publicized and is up to the sole discretion of runDisney whether or not to continue to offer it. Emergency translates to like acts of God, like freak weather, airline issues, whatever. An emergency is not your poor planning. Just saying. The dates of these events have been known for a very long time, and we've all had time to plan accordingly. Stranded in a city because of a canceled flight? We have zero control over that, and runDisney knows that. Please be aware that if you're going to goof around and find out as to whether this is a thing still, make plans to be at the staging area extremely early and have your ID with you. Again, if you hear me say one thing about this, it is this. It is completely up to runDisney as to whether this will continue. If it does and is abused, kiss it goodbye. Don't be the reason that people who are actually stuck and can't get to the Expo are denied their participation in the event because heaven help us, you can't be inconvenienced to arrive a day early when you've known about this for close to a year. Clear? Good? Okay, moving on. Bibs will be picked up in the State Farm Fieldhouse located here. All participants must have a valid photo ID, digitally signed waiver, and a check-in pass in order to pick up a bib. Other runners, friends, family, Minnie Mouse, or Walt Disney himself cannot pick up your bib unless your runner is a minor. Only you and you alone can pick up your bib, which is why it is so crucial that you attend the Expo prior to your race morning. But wait, how will you know which table to go to? Well, runDisney will send a check-in pass and it will be viewable on October the 30th. This check-in pass will include your bib number or numbers, and that will direct you to the correct table to collect your bibs. If you're anything like me, your digital waivers can't be signed for whatever reason. Yes, this has happened to me often. Go figure. But never fear, good old paper and pens will be there. If, like me, several times last season, your registration disappeared from your runDisney account. Yeah, it happens. Make sure and bring the confirmation email with the valid ID and such, and make your way to Runner Relations and they will assist you. Like I said, this happened to me several times last season, and the wonderful runDisney staff were able to locate my registration and make everything right within a matter of minutes. No need to worry, they will take good care of you. Some things to note here. A new addition to the Runner Relations table area is an AWD, or Athletes with Disabilities table. I know that the news about AWD has been in our social media circles since last week when they received an email stating that the AWD athletes will be starting in their designated corrals based on proof of time submitted or an anticipated finish time. Now, historically, these athletes were given their own separate corral for their own safety, as well as the safety of those running with them as guides, human or four-legged. The copies of that email that I've seen leave a lot to be desired in the area of explanation and, most importantly, reasoning. Why this change? Why this decision less than 2 weeks prior to athletes arriving to property? I won't even begin to speculate as to why or how or what in the world is going on here, but I will tell you this. I stand with all of my fellow runDisney athletes, including and especially the AWD athletes. Your presence at these events makes runDisney what we've known it to be. I encourage you to voice your concerns respectfully to the runDisney staff via email at the Expo, at the AWD table, or by calling. We are all adults here, and just like the confusion with costuming changes, the person that answers the phone or your email is simply conveying a message they were told to. They probably won't be able to give us any clear answers, but they can pass along our concerns to the higher-ups, the men and women behind the curtain. And with the very unclear placement of our AWD athletes within each corral, please, I challenge you to be very aware of your surroundings. You may have a four-legged guide in the corral with you, or a visually impaired runner who is tethered to a human guide. Please, take up the mantle of safety for our AWD friends where runDisney has apparently set it down. After getting your bib, you'll make your way over to the Visa Athletic Center where the ever-coveted race shirts are located. Here is where you'll also receive the clear plastic bag, which will serve as your gear check bag on race mornings. If, once you receive your shirt, you realize it's the wrong size, you can request to exchange it here as long as the stock lasts. The Visa Athletic Center is also home to the Expo vendor floor. Here's where you can spend a lot of time and certainly a lot of money. Specialty booths will be here, including some of the companies I mentioned before and many, many others. Never, ever, ever underestimate your ability to spend money in this part, ever. Now we went and saved the best for last, the Advent Health Arena. Here is where all of the official runDisney merchandise, both race weekend specific and generic, will be located. Wine and Dine 2022 marked the start of the use of a virtual queue system for day one only official race merchandise. Prior to 2022, people like me would line up before the sun woke up in order to get first dibs on merchandise. Honestly, those were the good old days. Literally, like sleeping on a sidewalk, making friends, drinking coffee. Whew. Anywho, runDisney did away with such nonsense and went virtual. Now with a queue system, just like how you get to ride Guardians or Tron, please refer to the virtual queue process tab in the digital event guide for step-by-step instructions. I will give you a few insider tips though. Build your shopping party of people prior to the 8:30 a.m. go live time. I nearly made the mistake last year of not adding myself to the group for Wine and Dine, and that would have been sad. That would have not been cool. Make sure you're in the group if you want to go shopping. Even if someone in your immediate friend or travel party isn't going to buy anything, they will need to be added to the list in order to gain entry, even if it's just to browse. Only those that are on Disney property or within 45 miles of Disney property and already linked to you in your My Disney Experience app can be added to your group, with a max number being 6 per single shopping group. Your return time is based off of the 10 a.m. opening, and you'll receive a push notification that it's your turn to shop when your group is called. You'll have 1 hour to return and have your QR code scanned in order to go shopping. I did find a discrepancy in the times listed in the event guide. One place says the go live time is 7:30 a.m., another says 8:30 a.m. I've reached out to some contacts within runDisney to get clarification, and will update the description box here when I get word from them. Historically, though, it's been 8:30 a.m. Now, those of us who are Platinum Club runDisney members enjoy earlier shopping hours with no need to join the virtual queue on day one. Platinum shopping begins at 8:30 a.m. and Gold members can begin shopping at 9. Please bring your photo ID with you to the Expo in order to take part in these benefits. If you're like me and shopping takes several trips, you will need to join the virtual queue in order to regain access to the merchandise after you leave the building to get coffee. That's why I would leave Joffrey's. Platinum members, your bibs will be pre-pulled and available for you on the second floor of the Advent Health Arena in the Club runDisney Lounge. I know you're wondering, is there anything else to do in the arena other than shop? Yes. On the main floor of the arena space, you'll find various photo ops, including the giant numbers featuring the race distances for the weekend, and maybe a character or 2 or 3. Enough about the Expo. Let's talk about the real reason for the season, the running. I want to cover a few things that remain constant each race before we dive into the race-specific info. So let's talk about some race morning specifics. Run Disney bus transportation begins from each of the Walt Disney World resorts, Shades of Green, the Swan and Dolphin, here forever now called the Swolphin, at 3 a.m. on the mornings of the 5 and 10K, and 2:30 a.m. on the morning of the half marathon. If you're providing your own transportation to the events, you must park at Epcot where parking is free on race mornings before 6 a.m. Please note, there will not be Skyliner or monorail transportation to the events on race mornings. Also note that if you choose to ride the Skyliner back to your Skyliner resort after the half marathon, you must have a park reservation for Epcot in order to access the Skyliner at the International Gateway. Oh, and the park has to be open too. Looking at you, fast runners. Monorail and Skyliner resorts will have buses available to take you back to your resort post-race. Once you arrive at Epcot, bright? No, not bright. Dark and early. You will be ushered through the front of Epcot for security screening and then make your way towards the staging area. The staging area is where you'll find the DJ stage, gear check, porta potties, whoop whoop, athletes with disabilities check-in, medical tents, and food and beverage for purchase options. If you've been to a Run Disney event before, you know there is a party in front of that DJ stage. There will also be an assortment of characters alongside the DJ stage for photo ops. Pro tip, these lines can become very long and they will have to stop or cut them prior to the race start. So if character picks are at the top of your priority list for you, get to the staging area early. For example, during Princess last season, I got to the staging area as soon as it opened and was able to get all 4 photo ops, which was 3 characters and Cinderella's carriage, in less than 30 minutes. New this season is staged starting group openings and closings. For the 5K, starting groups A, B, C, and D open at 3:35 a.m. Group A will close at 4:45, B at 4:55, C at 5:10, and D once the start line is cleared. If you're in Group A, but you get caught dancing the morning by, or you're in line for a character picture or whatever the case may be, and you miss the 4:45 closing time for your group, you will only be allowed to go into a remaining open group, so B, C, or D. 10K starting group open time is 3:45 for all groups, and then Group A closes at 4:40, B closes at 4:50, C at 5:10, and D at 5:20. And then E is when the start line is cleared. Half marathon starting groups are open staged or staggered, so get your pen and paper ready if this is applicable to you. Group A opens at 3:15, closes at 4:40. B opens at 3:15, closes at 4:50. C opens at 3:30, closes at 5:05. That's after the race start, by the way. D opens at 3:45, closes at 5:15. E, as stated, although I think this is a typo, opens at 5 and closes when the start line is clear. My educated guess is that this is supposed to say 4, but it's published at 5 a.m. currently. Again, more of a reason to keep checking back to the guide, as well as pay attention to all the updates communicated throughout the weekend. Once you're in the starting section as designated on your bib, you'll be entertained by the likes of my favorite race announcers, Riley Claremont, Carissa Galloway, Tracy Wu, and John Pelkey. A little comedy, usually a tear or two when they interview runners, and then obviously a sneak peek at upcoming Disney releases or events. They will keep you entertained while you wait for the race to start. Here's another pro tip. Getting up close space in your corral is a great way to put time between you and the balloon ladies during the 10K and the half. The further you are from them, the more of a buffer you have on the course to maybe take a few character pics or just take it easy. After you've run your race and crossed the finish line, you'll collect your medal from me, because I'll be there doing that for the 10K and half, and then you'll be funneled back through the staging area where your adventure began just a few hours earlier. This is also where you can reunite with friends and family who are cheering you on. Food and beverages for purchase will be located there, and if you need me, I'll be at the Joffrey's truck. Pacing requirements remain unchanged. For the 10K and half marathon, you must maintain the 16-minute per mile recommended pace as established by Run Disney, and this is inclusive of character stops, water stops, and bathroom stops. For those of you who are new to Run Disney and have only heard the rumblings and rumors of the ever-feared balloon ladies, allow me to explain. The balloon ladies are some of the nicest people you will ever meet. They are identifiable by the balloons tied to their waists, and they are always the last to start a race. The 16-minute per mile requirement begins when they cross the start line. These ladies train to maintain this pace consistently and work with Run Disney pacers on bikes to accurately represent the minimum pace allowed on course. If at any point you fall behind them, you are at risk for being swept from the course. The ladies themselves do not sweep you, but rather they serve as the visual representation of the minimum pace allowed. As I've mentioned in previous event guides, be very cautious when you hear people say or talk about safe points, meaning places that you can't get swept. The balloon ladies were on an episode of the Rise and Run podcast last year, as well as other Run Disney podcasts where they have discussed this. One of them shot down this rumor and said the only safe place from being swept is the finish line. As a spectator for several previous races, I have personally witnessed sweepers on golf carts on the boardwalk, in Hollywood Studios, and in Epcot, where that was previously thought of as safe. There is no safe space other than the finish line. I tell you this info not to scare you, but to maybe hit home the importance of putting as much of a buffer between you and the ladies as possible. Let's talk photos. Run Disney provides Photopass photographers all throughout the course. They're usually very recognizable by their bright lights and neon green huts that honestly look like giant laundry hampers. When you see them, it's important for you to keep moving. Do not stop in front of them. They are trained to take several pictures very quickly. Stopping in front of them poses a safety risk, not only to them, but to you and the people behind you. I promise you that they got your picture. Don't put yourself or those around you in danger for a picture. Another important reminder is to make sure that your bib is visible in the front of your person at all times. Not only for your pics, but for your safety. Run Disney staff is constantly looking for individuals who do not belong on the course. If you have a visible bib, you belong there. Your bib number is linked to you, and it's how you'll receive your pictures after the race. If your number is on your back or covered, there's no way for Run Disney to know who you are or to get your pictures to you. How do you see these pictures, you might ask? Well, there's two ways to view your photos. First option is in your My Disney Experience app once you've input the code for the weekend. Codes and instructions can be found on the back of your race bib and in the digital event guide. The second way to view and purchase photos is the mydisneyphotopass.com website. Remember, photos can take up to 48 hours post-event to show in your accounts. If you have an annual pass with Photopass included, enjoy all those free downloads. If you don't, you can purchase photos separately or add on a Photopass to your tickets for your trip. I highly recommend this. Or maybe you have friends who will download them for you because they've got an annual pass. That's always a viable option too. One of the most commonly asked questions I get is about spectating. You may remember that I went to Marathon Weekend in January of 2022 for the sole purpose of spectating and then making a step-by-step guide to successfully spectate the half and full marathon courses. You've also probably realized that that video is not applicable for this course, so let's break it down now. Where can you see your favorite runner and how will you get there? First and foremost, Run Disney and me highly encourage you to utilize race day transportation for spectating. They and I also recommend that you just ride the bus with your runner that morning versus catching a later bus. If there's one variable that you cannot plan for, and I've experienced, it's bus issues. From flat tires to drivers getting lost to traffic, you really just never know. For the 5K, the only viable place to spectate is in the designated spectating areas at the start and finish. Your loved ones will not be able to see you on course in Epcot as the park won't be open to the general public at that time. For the 10K, your cheer squad can see you not only at the start and finish areas, but possibly at the boardwalk as well. I will caution you with this though. Allowance of parking for non-resort guests is up to the gate attendant at the boardwalk. In recent years, they have become increasingly strict on not allowing non-guests of the resorts to park there early in the mornings without a valid reason to be there, like a breakfast reservation. That being said, if your high five crowd is able to get to the boardwalk, that would most likely be the only place that they can see you, as the time to get back to the finish line would take longer than the time that you've got left on the course. It'll be up to you to have that discussion with them about what's of most importance to you. Now, spectating the half marathon will provide a few more options if you're up for the challenge. Obviously, the start and finish are options as with the 10K, but the boardwalk area is once again an option for cheering if you're able to make your way there and find parking. The same rules apply as stated for the 10K. Your ability to park here is at the discretion of the gate attendant. Always have a plan B for the boardwalk. Unlike the course from last year where Hollywood Studios was at the halfway point of the course, Hollywood Studios is between mile 4 and 5 this year. Even if you're the last to start the race, you will not make it to the studios late enough or early enough to see friends and loved ones in the parking lot. Is it possible? Maybe. Worth it? No. An increasingly popular spectating spot is the bus bay area of Epcot. This is located around mile 11 and a half and just prior to your entrance backstage to Epcot. The final option for spectating the half is in Epcot. As we finish the half marathon, we will spend most of our time in the front of the park compared to earlier in the race when we ran World Showcase. Possible viewing spots would be near Creation Shop, Connections Cafe, Guardians, and Test Track, right as we would be leaving to go backstage to the finish line. Just remember, you have to have a valid park ticket and reservation to enter Epcot to spectate. There are so many more specific things to discuss, like lost and found, weather reminders, costume rules and regulations, etc. But this video is already going to be like 5 hours long. So once again, I'll direct you to the digital event guide and beg you to become familiar with it. I can almost guarantee that any question you may have, the answer will be located there. The 5K. The 5K takes place on Friday, November 3rd with a start time of 5 a.m. and the race begins and ends in the Epcot parking lot. Bus transportation from the Walt Disney World Resorts, Shades of Green, and the Swan and Dolphin will begin at 3 a.m. You heard me correctly, 3 a.m. Please note there will be no Skyliner or monorail transportation for the races during this race weekend. If you're providing your own transportation, you must park in the Epcot parking lot, and parking is free before 6 a.m. on race mornings. Spectators are highly encouraged to take race transportation with their runner on the event morning. The course. The 5K begins in the Epcot parking lot, and once you cross the start line, you'll make a right turn alongside the back of the parking lot where you'll begin to make your way backstage. Mile 1 is located just before the outdoor portion of Test Track. You'll then continue backstage and enter World Showcase between Mexico and Norway. Continue your tour of World Showcase running by China, Germany, Italy, the American Adventure, Japan, Morocco, and France. The one and only water stop on this course will be located at the American Adventure. A small change this year is that we do not duck out and into backstage behind the Skyliner station, but rather we stay the course through World Showcase. Mile 2 is located adjacent to the refreshment port and just before the port of entry shop. You'll continue like you're going to make another lap around World Showcase, only to hairpin turn, change directions, and go back towards Spaceship Earth near Disney Traders. If you've been to Epcot recently, the turnaround will be right near where Pluto meets, and I know where Pluto meets, and that's where the turnaround is. Next, we'll make the familiar run by Creation Shop before making a right turn to run between Creation Shop and Connections Cafe. Another new path this year, we'll get to literally run right by Guardians of the Galaxy. Prior courses had us acknowledging Guardians from afar, but now we've been upgraded to run right by it. I mean right by it. You'll exit Epcot via backstage area by test track and continue on to your glorious finish line located in the cast parking lot. Congratulations on your 5K. The 10K. The 10K takes place on Saturday, November 4th with a start time of 5 a.m. The race begins and ends in the Epcot parking lot. Bus transportation from the Walt Disney World Resorts, Shades of Green, the Swan and Dolphin will begin at 3 a.m. Please note there will be no Skyliner or monorail transportation for the races during this race weekend. If you're providing your own transportation, you must park in the Epcot parking lot, and parking is free before 6 a.m. on race mornings. Please take note of the road closures with times as noted under the 10K event in the digital event guide. This is particularly important if you're self-driving and have a later start group opening time. Spectators are encouraged to take race transportation with their runner on the event morning. The course. The 10K begins in the parking lot at Epcot. Once you toe the start line, you'll then be directed left towards the Epcot Toll Plaza, or the main gate as I like to call it. Caution runners, speed bumps ahead. You'll continue on Epcot Center Drive and through mile 1 until you find yourself running one of the infamous exit ramps down towards World Drive. The first of 2 medical tents will be located at approximately mile 1.75. Mile 2 is located just before your first on-course water stop on World Drive. Keep up the pace and eyes on the prize as you approach yet another exit ramp, but this time for East Buena Vista Drive. Mile 3 is located just as you reach the bottom of this exit ramp. The second and final medical tent will be located on the corner of East Buena Vista Drive and the backstage entrance to Disney's Hollywood Studios. The second of 3 water stops will be just in the backstage area and close to Fantasmic. Continue backstage near Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror. Get ready for your close-up, Mr. DeVille, because there will likely be multiple Photopass photographers stationed along Sunset Boulevard. You'll make a left backstage between Beauty and the Beast and the Once Upon a Time shop. I will say, this is a change from last year's course with now less time in studios. Literally, you blink and you're gonna miss it all. Mile 4 is located near the bus bays for the Walt Disney World Resorts. Keep on keeping on and make sure that you wear your patience pants for this next stretch of course. You and thousands of your new best friends will be navigating the always narrow walkway between Hollywood Studios and the boardwalk. I have affectionately renamed this as No Personal Space Alley. After you emerge from the sidewalks and the official boardwalk sign is in sight, you'll turn right and begin to make your way around the boardwalk. You'll reach mile 5 on or just after the bridge, linking the boardwalk to the International Gateway. A quick trip backstage again proves very beneficial, as this is where you will find your final water stop on the course. Begin the home stretch by running by Canada, the port of entry, between Creations Shop and Connections Cafe, wave to the Guardians, and then leave the park the same way that you would have during the 5K the previous morning. The mile 6 marker is located backstage and within eyeshot of the finish line. Cross the finish line in the employee parking lot and celebrate your 10K success. Congrats. The half marathon. The half marathon takes place on Sunday, November 5th with a start time of 5 a.m. The race begins and ends in the Epcot parking lot. Bus transportation from the Walt Disney World Resorts, Shades of Green, and the Swan and Dolphin will begin at 2:30 a.m. Please note there will be no Skyliner or monorail transportation for the races during this race weekend. If you're providing your own transportation, you must park in the Epcot parking lot, and parking is free before 6 a.m. on race mornings. Please take note of the road closures with times noted under the half marathon event in the digital event guide. This is particularly important if you are self-driving and have a later start group opening time. Spectators are highly encouraged to take race transportation with their runner on the event morning. The course. Y'all, hold on to your hats because this one's a doozy. Again, the half marathon begins in the parking lot of Epcot and makes its way backstage via the outer feeder road in the direction of Test Track. Mile 1 is parallel to the back of the parking lot, and you'll also encounter the first of 9 on-course hydration stops here. Continue on this familiar course until you reach the first of 6 medical tents just prior to Test Track. Enter World Showcase via backstage between Mexico and Norway. Mile 2 is located at the China Pavilion, and then the second of 9 hydration stops is located at the American Adventure. Let's keep it up because the journey continues around World Showcase, where you will leave to go backstage between the UK and World Showplace. Travel behind the Skyliner station and out the International Gateway, where Mile 3 is located on the boardwalk and near the new Boardwalk ice cream shop. I wonder if it'll be open. Probably not. The second of 6 medical tents will be just through the official boardwalk sign and prior to your narrow runway to Disney's Hollywood Studios. If you ran the 10K the morning prior and are thinking, wow, this sounds familiar, you're right, because you're running the same route but just in the reverse of how you would have done it the morning before. Mile 4 is your reward for completing No Personal Space Alley and can be found at the bus bays for the Walt Disney World Resorts and near the Skyliner station. Welcome to Hollywood Studios. Hollywood, Hollywood. What the 10K course through Studios is lacking, the half course makes up for in spades. Run towards the front of Hollywood Studios, but quickly dip backstage before coming back onto Hollywood Boulevard. Halfway up the boulevard, you will take a left-hand turn at the fork and run around the backside of Echo Lake near Hollywood and Vine, 50s Primetime Cafe, the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. You can tell Elsa to just let it go, waka waka with the Muppets, and then prepare to enter a galaxy far, far away, Galaxy's Edge. This is probably my favorite stretch of this entire course, a full run through Galaxy's Edge and Toy Story Land. Andy's coming! Just kidding, don't drop on the course. You could hurt someone or yourself. Just keep running and make your way towards the Hollywood Studios arch. Smile big because there will most likely be a Photopass photographer here as well. Make a quick left and begin to run up Sunset Boulevard towards Fantasmic and the Tower of Terror. This is where Mile 5 marker will be around in that area. Exit the park just past Fantasmic and y'all, you better use some imagination over the next few miles. Hydration stop number 4 of 9 and medical tent 3 of 6 are just through Mile 5 and prior to your left-hand turn onto East Buena Vista Drive. New for this course this year is the stretch of West Buena Vista Drive that leads you by Coronado Springs Resort, and it happens to be where Mile 6 is located. Hydration stop number 5 of 9 is located near the Blizzard Beach parking lot. Continue on West Buena Vista Drive until you take another left-hand turn onto Osceola Parkway and behind Blizzard Beach. Mile 7 will be parallel to the back of Blizzard Beach. Your time on Osceola Parkway is short-lived and you'll take a wide left onto the ramp for World Drive. Medical tent 4 of 6 is located at the base of this ramp and just prior to Mile 8. The one and only nutrition stop for this race is just through Mile 8, and it's followed by hydration stop 6 of 9. You're on the literally straight and narrow shot of World Drive for over a mile before taking the ramp to Epcot Center Drive. Hydration stop 7 of 9 is just through Mile 9 and prior to the ramp to Epcot Center Drive. Mile 10 will greet you on Epcot Center Drive, and you should be able to see Spaceship Earth. Y'all, that means the final stretch is here. One more hairpin turn to get you facing towards Spaceship Earth, and you'll be in the parking lot of Epcot, making your way towards the bus bays. Mile 11 is right after the hairpin turn, and your final water and medical tent will be backstage prior to your final entrance on stage between the Imagination Pavilion and the land. Mile 12 is located near the Imagination Pavilion. Continue towards World Showcase, but make the turn back towards the finish near the port of entry. Run by Creation Shop between Connections Cafe and out backstage by Test Track. Your 13.1 mile adventure comes to a celebratory end in the employee parking lot. Congratulations on your half marathon. Guys, we made it! Oh my gosh. Thanks for tuning in to the Wine and Dine Digital Event Guide. Again, if you have questions, refer to the digital event guide or leave questions in the comments section down below. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, share this video. Happy running. And guess what? I will see you in less than a week. For those of you that have hung in here for this long. Thank you. I do appreciate you. If you're running the 10K or half marathon, look for me in the medal chute. I will be there handing out medals and congratulating as many people as I can. Thank you all again for tuning in. I really, really do appreciate you, and I'll see you in less than a week. Bye.